that the sun shines down its power to all the world and makes the wind blow strong as it will. So lovely earth can stay lovely still. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. This is Energy Week with George Harvey, that's me, and the famous Tom Fennell. I, however, am not famous.
I just got another edition of my world famous Tesla T-shirt. This is a different one. I'll stand up.
This is not Tesla Motors. This is Tesla the guy.
This is Tesla the guy. Yeah, he was a brilliant scientist and a brilliant engineer and a lousy businessman. And that's history, you know.
Yeah.
Yeah. Let's see if I can get up here
and show it. There you go.
Yeah, you can't really see it. It's him sitting in his laboratory with lightning going around all over his head. It's a famous picture. You can see it better in that picture. I don't know
there
why.
You go. Okay. Okay, every day.
Which, by the way, that was a double exposure. That didn't really happen.
I'm glad it didn't happen. Every day I go to the internet and I put together a list of news items that I found. Each one has a 50 to 55 word synopsis of the news article, and I put it together with a link to the original article, and I put up 10 or 15 of these on my blog, which is called geoharvey.wordpress.com. And you can go and you can look at the items that we're talking about on the days that we talk. It indicate that we start this particular broadcast on Thursday, June 23rd, which is a week ago today. It's a week ago today. And so you can find these things.
I just want to say some of these articles are very much in depth and very interesting.
They are. Some of them are very short.
Some of them are short, but I mean, if I notice one, I'll mention it. You know, as a matter of fact, the next one coming up, not the first one, is got a lot of goodies in it.
Yeah.
But you got to tell the people how to access.
You go to
article.
GeoHarvey, GeoHarvey.wordpress.com, and there's a calendar on the left, so you can click on a date on the calendar, and you can go. It'll give you the entry for that date, and
then you click on the link.
You can look for the article and find it, and click on the link, and go to the article that way.
And some of them are really quite comprehensive.
Some of them are very, very interesting. Okay, our first one today is the one that I've got a picture up of. Let's put the picture up. There you go. This is
that a real picture?
I think it actually is. I looked at it.
It's a test track.
I think it may be. I looked at it, and there's some things happening with perspective here that tell me that this is probably an actual image, but I could be wrong. Anyway, what's the title of this, Tom?
California Rail Authority energizes environmental connection.
This is from Railway Age magazine. The California High-Speed Rail Authority and the California Energy Commission have agreed to a memorandum of understanding that focuses attention on how the high-speed rail program can help California meet its climate goals and become a greener state.
Well, the takeaway here is that the Rail Authority is committed to powering the high-speed rail system with 100% renewable energy sources.
This is an interesting thing. This is a high-speed system. This is not.
Oh yeah, we don't have anything in the country like this now.
Yeah, and you know, when you think about what high speed is, I can tell you that I used to work in New Hampshire and commute to Washington D.C. This is one day I'd go down, and then about a month later I'd come back.
Okay.
And spend a weekend.
That's a long trip.
It's a long trip. It was a long commute. It was a 10-hour commute or something. And I went on the Acela, and I remember saying to the conductor, you know, as we were going through New Jersey, I said, "We're going awfully fast. How fast do you think we're going?" And he said, "Oh, we're moving." And I said, "We've got to be going over 100 miles an hour."
Yeah.
And he said, "Why do you say that?" And I said, "Because we're going by a superhighway and the cars are like standing still." And he said, "Yeah, that could be." When they're talking about high-speed rail, they're talking about fast.
They're talking about 400 or 500 miles an hour.
Well, this isn't going to be 400 or 500, but
some of the trains that you're capable of that fast. Yeah, I was on the Tokyo Hokkaido Express.
Oh man!
You couldn't look out the window. It was you were going too fast. Isn't that nice? Yeah.
Right. This is not the Vista Cruiser. I always wanted to cross the country on one of those old Vista Cruisers.
Oh yeah.
You know the thing
with the thing up on the roof.
Up on the roof.
I bet you that's nice.
I went across Missouri on one when I was a little kid, and Missouri's not that exciting, you know, the country, unless you love corn. But it's not. Missouri's got its good sights, but you know, I'd like to see the Rockies or something. Okay, our next item is from the BBC. What is it, Tom?
Solar Impulse completes Atlantic crossing with a landing in Seville.
Seville, where they have the oranges. Solar Impulse 2 has landed in Spain, completing the Atlantic leg of its historic bid to circumnavigate the globe. The landing in Seville marked the end of the 15th stage of Solar Impulse route. Mission managers will now plot a route to Abu Dhabi, where the venture began in March of 2015.
This is a good site. There's a lot of videos on it. There's pictures on it. You can spend half an afternoon
just looking at the BBC on the Solar Impulse 2.
This is a really good one.
It's a good one, yeah.
And by the way, their plans had them landing in Paris, but Paris was having storms.
Really?
Yeah, so they moved to Seville.
Wow.
Bad joke, but the pilot needed a haircut. Barbara of Seville.
Barbara of Seville. Okay.
I said it was a bad joke.
You sure did. Tom always tells the truth. He always tells the truth. Okay, our next item is from Vermont Biz. And actually, we're going to be talking about Sue Minter again, I think.
Well, this is interesting. This is the Minter Energy Plan. Reduce peak demand and cut transport carbon. And as I was proofreading this morning, Sue Minter was on the radio.
Yes.
Very, just a little coincidence.
Yes.
She seems to have a good head on her shoulders.
Well, she has spent time working on clean energy technologies in transportation and other areas of government in Montpelier. Vermont Democratic gubernatorial candidate Sue Minter laid out an energy plan focused on reducing emissions, supporting clean energy job growth, and cutting energy costs. She also called on all candidates to oppose moratoriums and bans on clean energy technologies. And I think that's really important because the clean energy technologies support each other. Wind and solar support each other.
Yeah, they do, because they come on at different times of day and they help balance the load.
Yeah, and if one of them isn't going, the other one probably is. And when neither of them is going, you can go to hydro and so forth. Hydro and biogas, which I'm very fond of biogas.
Well, one of her opponents, Peter Galbraith, generally I agree with, until he starts talking about wind. And he doesn't talk about wind. He always uses the word industrial.
Yeah, industrial wind, which means
what's industrial
in effect all wind. We're going to have a cute one here about El Paso County, Texas, and wind.
Oh yeah, that's kind of neat.
That's kind of neat. Okay, we're up to Friday. Okay, go ahead.
Quick takeaway from Sue.
Yeah.
This is a quote. "It is unbelievable to me that we have candidates running for governor in the year 2016 who want to ban renewable energy, when we now have over 17,000 Vermonters proudly working in the clean energy sector."
Well, you're going to lose 17,000 votes by banning clean energy. We are up to Friday, June 24th.
This is an interesting one.
This is an interesting one. That is a picture Tom is bringing up now of a BMW, and you can't buy them in this configuration. I just want to make that clear. If you want to get one,
I wouldn't want to use that in the rain, huh?
No, but it might make you could put a seat on that in that thing and have a real honest to goodness dune buggy. What do you got for a title?
Okay, BMW i3 batteries, and there's one there on the ground.
There you go.
The car.
Yeah,
can power your home.
How about that?
Now these guys are getting a little bit ahead of the game here.
Yeah, Car Keys is the name of the publication. BMW announced battery packs from its i3 model can power your home, integrating seamlessly with solar panels to store energy for use at night, to offset peak tariffs, and to act as a backup supply. Used BMW i3 battery packs could expand the system as they become available, extending their life. And
well, that's an interesting thing, because once they're no longer really useful in cars,
yeah,
they're still great for home storage.
Right, and
so there's going to be a market developing for these things.
And they have about 70% of their life still in front of them when they come out of that car, because they're too old for it.
Yeah,
and
well, we'll get to it a little bit later, but these electric cars are quick.
Yes. Yes. Okay.
And they demand full performance from the battery.
Right.
And as you said, there's still 70% of it left, even though it's no longer performing like the car drivers want.
Right. Right.
So this is kind of a little gift.
Yes, it is. Okay. Our next item is coming from North American Wind Power, still on Friday, June 24th.
The U.S. to deploy. I'm going to put us up there.
Oh, okay. Good idea.
Yeah, I'm getting tired of looking at that car.
Should I switch to the next picture so that people can see it in the next picture in the background?
Say what?
Should I switch to the next image? There it is.
Oh, okay.
We can leave that in the background.
We'll get to that one.
Yes, we will.
This one states that the U.S. is to deploy 77.3 gigawatts of distributed renewables by 2025.
Now, what they mean by distributed renewables is a little bit different.
It's not centralized. It's
which means
distributed around. It could be a wind turbine here.
This includes
could be
solar panels on the roof.
There.
Yeah.
And it could be biogas.
The U.S. is expected to deploy 77.3 gigawatts of distributed renewables, especially solar PVs, distributed wind power, and biogas between 2016 and 2025, according to a new report from Navigant Research. Navigant, by the way, is a very important researcher. They are a market research. So they do their research so that investors will know what to invest in. It's very important they be accurate. The report takes changes in net metering and tax incentives into account. This is from North American Wind Power. You got anything more on that?
No, we're just going over.
We'll just go on.
I missed the last part of that sentence.
Okay.
Why it wasn't reading.
Okay.
Oh, well, we'll go back.
Oh, well. KHON2, which I think is a radio station, provided this next report.
Maui's solar grid reaches limit. Customers can opt to self-supply instead.
Yeah.
Now, this is just the island of Maui, which is run by a private electric company.
Yeah.
And they're the ones that are making the rules here.
Yep.
And they basically said, we don't want any more of your solar power.
Yep.
But you can use it yourself.
Yes.
Isn't that big of them?
Isn't that big of them? Maui's electric solar grid has reached its limit, but the electric company says those customers who want solar still have options. They can opt for the self-supply program by installing PV systems, typically with batteries, providing power to the home, but not exporting electricity to the grid. So you can have the power, you just can't sell it to the grid.
Well, there was a problem there, and this is from the article. Officials say an increasing number of customers were installing oversized rooftop systems.
Yes.
Which export significantly more electricity to the grid than the household actually uses.
Yeah.
And, you know, they were, how would you say it, competing with the utility.
Yeah, and this is a problem. And the real problem is not that the people in the rooftop solar have got too much power going to the grid, but the utility doesn't know what to do with it. There are utilities that are way in excess of what Maui Electric is doing.
And they're not making much of a profit on power that they're buying from their customers.
Well, isn't that sad? Saturday, June 25th, and this item comes from Gas 2. That 2 is a numeral.
Gas 2, yeah.
And this is the one that picture belongs with.
And you might notice the VW logo. I'm going to pull a picture up.
Yeah.
I didn't do that yet.
Yep.
The VW.
There you
go. Think this is about VW? You're right. Volkswagen to pay $10 billion to resolve diesel cheating scandal in the U.S.
Now, this is a really interesting indication because because this news tells you what happens to the news as it develops. VW is expected to pay $10 billion. According to Bloomberg, which is a good source,
Yeah.
VW has agreed to pay up to $10 billion to resolve all issues pending before court. The proposed judgment will be presented in U.S. District Court on June 28th, which today being, as we're recording this, the 23rd, was the day before yesterday. Details are not known, yes, they're not known, by golly, but payments to people who bought cars in question may be up to $7,000.
Well, the details are not known because they were under a court-imposed gag order.
But there were other problems too, as we will see a little bit later on in this show.
Well, there's a takeaway here.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad because many VW owners now have cars in their driveways that have little or no value in the used car market and can't be driven because they won't pass a state emissions test.
You know,
So you're stuck with this thing.
You're stuck. $7,000 doesn't do it.
No, I don't think
It
so.
just doesn't do it. Okay.
There was a quick takeaway from the text here.
Yeah.
Green is the new fast.
Green is the
Talking
new
about
fast.
cars.
Yes.
Green is the new fast.
Yes.
And
okay.
it is.
Yeah. Our next item comes from CNews Renewables. And CNews Renewables and Renews are both sources that give very short articles. They're usually like three short paragraphs long, but they're handy to have come up.
Well, this is about a very, very large development recently.
Yes,
Nobody knows what's going to happen.
Yep.
The Brexit.
Yes.
And it's called, well, the article is called Brexit Charts Uneasy Future for Renewables.
Yep.
Well, it's an uneasy future for a lot of
reasons.
Because nobody knows what the heck's going on.
They have
Everybody's
no idea.
resigning.
They have no idea.
The pound has plummeted.
Yes.
Oh, this is crazy.
The world's most complicated divorce is what they call it, will have a huge impact on the UK's environment and energy policies and on the climate policy in the EU, the world's largest political bloc with a combined population of 500 million people. They have no idea what the effect of this is going to be on renewables in
Nobody
Europe.
knows.
And you know,
the takeaway here is the absence of EU guidance poses a big question mark as to how the UK regulatory framework for renewables will be redesigned beyond 2020.
Yeah. And we don't know. On the other hand, I've got news for whoever wrote this article, and that is nobody knew what was going to happen in the UK anyway because they changed their mind every 6 months. And you know,
they're all having second guesses about this Brexit right now.
Yes, absolutely. The UK
and Europe doesn't know what to do about it either.
The current government under David Cameron ran on a position that they want to put solar on every rooftop that can get it. You know, they want solar on business rooftops and so forth and so forth. They get into office and what do? They cut support for solar for home and small business solar. They only want any kind of power if it requires the activity of big business to run it. That's what they want. They want nuclear, they want offshore wind, and they want what was the third? They're not. No, fracking. Fracking.
Oh,
they want to frack. They're going to frack Britain. Can you imagine this? I mean, what kind of insanity is this? And then Amber Rudd this week, you know,
who's she?
She's the energy minister.
Okay.
And she stood up and said, our policy is not changing, even though we had this Brexit thing. And by the way, we're going to have small modular reactors added to the thing, and that'll really help us. Small modular reactors, nobody's ever built one.
Well, it's a good idea.
I mean, they've built small reactors, but they haven't built one of these modern.
These are something you put on a trailer truck and deliver to your door.
Yeah. Yeah, if you've got a rather big door, a big door, you know, it won't quite fit in your. But the small modular reactors are about a third of the size of the Vermont Yankee reactor, and they produce about a third as much or a quarter as much power. And the idea is that the people who are proponents of this want to have 1,000 of them all over the country. And
well, it's unfortunate here in Britain, really throughout Europe. There's a small number of very, very wealthy people who are pulling strings behind the curtain.
And they're making money.
And they're making, well, that's what it's all about.
Yeah. Okay.
Okay.
So, are we up to our next
move
one?
up to the next one here.
Okay, and our next one has that picture. Isn't that a pretty picture?
We missed one about
We
the
missed one?
Massachusetts Senate.
About the Senate? No, this one is about the Senate. That's this
Oh.
picture.
Where-
That's what it's for. It has
Oh,
nothing
you
to
know
do
what
with the
happened?
Senate.
That picture, yeah. That picture came up in my computer on a previous item.
Oh, really?
So let's pull
Okay.
that picture up.
Okay, let's
Because
put it
it's
up.
something we all know and love.
Yeah, this is actually the picture that does go with the Massachusetts Senate article, even though it isn't in Massachusetts, it's in Vermont. That's the Searsburg wind power facility in Searsburg, Vermont. I saw it just yesterday.
Say again?
I saw it just the day before yesterday. My son came up. My son
Okay.
who lives in Kenosha. He wants to go to the highest point in every state as a kind of a hobby. So
Okay.
he and his wife and his daughter and I drove down to Mount Greylock. And on the drive, we saw this particular
I would
wind
imagine
project.
you would, yeah.
Yeah.
The Greylock is the highest point in Massachusetts, huh?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Anyway, this is from masslive.com.
Massachusetts Senate releases broader energy bill than the House, and it focuses on renewables and efficiency.
Yeah. Key lawmakers in the Massachusetts Senate released a version of an energy bill that is more comprehensive than the House passed. The Senate bill would require more renewable energy and would also include new provisions related to energy efficiency and energy storage. And one of the things that they did was these bills that they're going to have to balance, come up with a compromise, is calling for a lot of offshore wind.
They got it.
They've got it.
They've got it.
And I don't know if that's going to resurrect the Cape Wind project. I know that people in the Cape Wind project are still trying to get it online, but they're struggling because the National Grid and so forth. Companies have said no, we're not going to honor those contracts because you didn't deliver on time. But
There's more to that story than meets the eye.
well, I think there is.
There's a little bit of a takeaway here. The reason behind this is Massachusetts lawmakers are trying to figure out how to replace energy that is being lost from retiring coal and nuclear plants,
Right.
while meeting the state's goals for increasing the use of renewable energy.
Right, and the alternative to developing it in-state is to buy it from typically Canada or someplace like that, or possibly open natural gas lines running through the state and have natural gas plants.
I don't think there's enough capacity in those gas lines.
This
They try to build a brand new one, and,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
it flunked because it wasn't economically viable.
Yeah, yeah.
And I think we talked about it on a show. I think it was a stealth project. I think they were trying to export that gas.
Well, there was a line from it that went to a terminal. It was, I mean, what is this all
I
about?
wonder why.
Yeah, right. Because the gas is more expensive in Europe. You can make money by exporting
Bingo.
liquefied natural
Bingo.
gas to Europe. A lot
But
more than
that
you can
wasn't
get.
going to fly with the voters.
No.
But
Well,
they told the people of Massachusetts, you guys really need this gas.
Yes.
But the people from Massachusetts said we don't.
Yeah. Well, if you go down to Northfield, or the towns to south of Brattleboro, you'll find a bunch of people who
Oh, yeah.
don't want a gas pipeline go through their town.
Well, I drive down to Northfield every week to deliver the comments.
Yeah.
And there's signs all over the lawns.
Yes.
No gas lines. No gas
Yes.
lines. The people from Northfield do
And
not
when
want gas.
We've shown pictures of what happens when one of those lines goes bad, where the whole neighborhoods kind of get fried.
It's not
pretty.
Not pretty.
Yeah.
There is
Okay.
some sort of a demonstration, I think, today down in Northfield.
Is there?
Yeah, I didn't memorize the facts.
For those of you who are watching, today is not today. Because this show never is.
Today is next week.
Yeah, this show never is displayed on the day that it's recorded. It just doesn't happen. So
Let's move along.
Yes, let's move along. Let's get out.
Okay.
Let's get into another date. We're
got
getting
another-
to
we got
Sunday,
another
June
picture coming
26th.
up
We
here.
have a picture coming up, and there it is. By golly,
Nice
look at
picture,
that!
too.
What is that?
That's Pikes Peak.
That's Pikes Peak in El Paso County, Colorado.
I didn't
And this
know
comes from.
Colorado had an El Paso.
I didn't either until I did this. And I used to live in Denver.
Did you?
I did indeed. When I lived in Denver, you could go into town and you'd see Indians, Native Americans,
Yeah.
standing around on street corners and so forth, wearing, believe it or not, top hats with feathers.
No, that was a kind of a custom. Yeah,
That was 66 years ago.
Yeah, they wore.
I was a
That's
little
exactly
kid.
what they wore.
Yeah.
Hats with feathers.
Yeah, and very few people remember that. But anyway, this is from the Colorado Springs Gazette. What do you got for a title here?
Property prices soaring near wind farm. Well,
Yeah.
that's a little bit of a misnomer, I think.
Well-
but they're not falling. What are you going to tell them about it?
Indeed. In Colorado, the El Paso County Assessor's Office reported in February that values on property around a recently constructed wind farm near Callan were on the rise. The trend still has not changed, the county assessor told the county commissioners on Tuesday. Now, the prices of property around the wind farm have gone up 38%.
Well, the prices of property in that whole area has gone up
Yes,
about 38%.
by golly. And
But
that's
the article says, they're talking about this county assessor, whose
Yes.
name happens to be Schleicher.
Schleicher.
So Schleicher said he sat with a lot of property owners in the early stages of the project.
Yes,
Several of them had a major concern about loss of property value.
yes.
So he has touched base with them recently, and those areas report that property values have not decreased since wind farms arrived.
And in fact, they've gone up 38%.
Well, yeah.
But we should be clear here. The reason they went up was not because of the wind farm. And there have been a lot of media reports that say it went up 38% because of the wind farm.
Well, that's not true.
That's not true. They went up 38%
That's
because
true.
all of the property in
Right.
that part of the state went up about that
you've got
amount.
it. You've got
And the stuff that was near the wind farm wasn't delayed by the fact that the wind farm was there. This the picture of Pikes Peak is a little bit of a it's not really related to the wind farm. The wind farm is in an area that looks more like plains. So
Oh, is it?
yeah,
Oh, okay. Okay.
but
It's still a pretty picture.
it's a pretty picture. I saw it and I said, it's kind of a pretty picture. I think I'll put it in, even though it doesn't have anything to do with anything. But I thought I'd just tell everybody that that's not what the wind farm looks like. They're not putting wind turbines on Pikes Peak.
We got another picture coming up
We
that
do
does
indeed.
relate to the story.
We do, and I just lost my my guidance on this thing. Oh, here we go. Here we go. Here it is.
There we go.
And this comes from The Tea Cake. What can I tell you? It's the name of a publication.
It's TE.
TE Cake, yeah.
TE Cake. Well, this is the first electric highway system in Sweden goes under testing. To be
Yes,
featured in California soon.
yes.
So this is a new trend, and what you're seeing there is not a real highway. It's a 2-mile long stretch.
Actually, it's 1.25 miles.
Yeah, 2
Yeah.
kilometers.
2 kilometers, yeah.
Yeah. So in any case, if you're looking at that, you can see the things on top of the truck.
Which look like the old trolley connection.
Exactly,
Yeah.
a trolley bus.
Yep,
Like they still have in Boston.
yep,
Yeah, that's exactly what it is.
yep.
And well,
I'll read this.
Yeah, you read it.
Sweden is testing the first electric highway system for trucks. Siemens will help the country for the next 2 years to test an e-highway system on 1.25 miles stretch of highway on the north of Stockholm. The project may see similar testing phase unveiled soon in California. The reason they're doing this is because electricity is so much more efficient in moving things than internal combustion machines, that all you've got to do is find a good source for electricity, which could be batteries, but they're looking at this and they're saying,
Norway and Sweden have.
yeah, but the problem is, in order to do that with a truck, which is going to haul a huge amount of weight compared to a car, you got to have a really big battery. So
Yeah, you can't do it with batteries.
They're figuring for trucking, they want to have a truck which is probably a diesel that has these things for long distance, so
They
they
call them
can.
a hybrid truck.
A hybrid
They
truck,
got electric
yeah.
motors in there somewhere.
Yeah, and of course the electric motors they have today are absolutely astonishing. I had a Prius 2001
Yeah.
Prius. The motor in that thing was 35 horsepower, and it was about the size of a grapefruit can. I think of DC motors as being,
Huge
this
things.
big for
Yeah.
5 horsepower. This thing was 35 horsepower, and it was like that.
Well, I would bet, I don't know because the article didn't reveal it, but I would bet that the motors for that are concealed in the wheels.
Very possibly they are.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, that would be a logical thing to do. Okay.
But they're moving. I mean, who'd have thunk?
Who'd have
Electric
thunk?
trucks?
Yeah, who'd have thunk? There you go.
mean,
we've got electric trucks that are run with batteries, but
Well,
not
yeah,
very many of them.
We've had them.
They're a little impractical.
When I was a kid, UPS in Manhattan had electric trucks.
Good for them.
And
Wow.
they were ancient. I mean, they
Yeah.
were built like in the 20s, They were real.
Along with
And they had solid rubber tires.
oh my gosh.
Downtown Manhattan's flat,
Yeah.
There's no pebbles in the streets.
No potholes in downtown Manhattan. No open manholes.
But it was interesting. Electric trucks, yeah.
Yeah. Okay. Our next
Okay.
item comes from the Sarasota Herald Tribune.
Well, this one is a little bit about energy, but it's more about politics.
It sure is.
Sanders's influence in the Democratic platform.
Democrats approved a draft of a party platform that shows Bernie Sanders' influence. Among lacking elements, however, were a carbon tax to address climate change and a moratorium on fracking. Hillary is backing fracking.
Yes, she is.
And Bernie Sanders has said that climate change is our biggest problem.
Yes, he did.
Yeah, I'm not going to say this. When she wants to say it, she can say it. So I'm going to hold off.
Well,
But-
his side here is talking about breaking up the Wall Street banks,
Yep.
which he's mentioned many times.
Yeah.
Advocates for a $15 an hour wage,
Yes.
which he's also
Yes.
mentioned many times.
Yep.
And abolition of the death penalty, which I haven't heard too much about.
That's one I never took a stand on that until recently.
Yeah.
And as I was thinking about it, I'd always said, I don't know.
I think it's barbaric.
I don't know. The death penalty teaches people that under certain circumstances it is okay to kill people.
Well, yeah.
And you know that it's only about that big a step from, well, if the government can do it, why can't
Why
I?
can't I? And people are doing that right now, I think.
Yes.
Well, anyhow, Hillary's side, or the others, other than Sanders' side,
Yep.
has neglected to include a Medicaid for all single-payer healthcare system,
Yeah.
which I think is much better than what we have now.
Yes.
A carbon tax, and
Right.
they're still talking about that,
Yes.
and to impose a moratorium on hydraulic fracking.
The fracking thing is important, I think. I honestly, I wonder how important a carbon tax is because we're seeing so much renewable energy going online already
Without the carbon
without the carbon tax.
Well, yeah. The carbon tax is a mechanism to recover some of
costs.
these hidden
Yes.
costs.
And the hidden costs,
They're not going to be hidden costs if you're not using that
that's true.
method of generating electricity.
I do think that it's important that the people who are creating the carbon dioxide should pay for it, and for the other things that they produce.
Across the board, I mean.
Yeah,
you know,
absolutely, absolutely.
You mess in your bed, you got to clean it up.
Yeah, or sleep in it, which is what they would prefer we do, I think.
They would prefer that we sleep in it.
That's right. Yeah, okay.
Okay, let's move into Texas now.
Texas, this is Monday, June 27th.
We already mentioned this.
And this is an article about Texas that appeared in a publication called Xinhua, or Xinhua, I think it is. I think the accent
I
Chinese.
don't know how to pronounce Chinese.
I don't know how to pronounce Chinese, but I'm
But it's
making a
interesting,
guess.
the article came out of China.
Yeah, it is. And I did actually look to see if the American media was carrying this item, and there were a couple of places that were, and they weren't covering it as well as the Chinese were. So I used the Chinese version,
Okay.
and the Chinese version didn't have a photograph like this, so I poked around and got this out of Wikimedia Commons.
Okay.
Yeah, this is the downtown
This is-
of Georgetown, Texas.
Georgetown, Texas,
There it
which
is.
I didn't even know there was one.
It's a town in Texas, you could have guessed. There's everything in Texas. What do you got for a title?
Georgetown to become Texas's first city to use 100% renewable energy.
Yeah, and they're going to do it soon, they hope. Georgetown, a small city in Texas about 40 kilometers north of the Lone Star State. Chinese media, Lone Star State. Everybody in China knows what the Lone Star State is. Capital of Austin has a big dream to become greener by using 100% renewable energy next year. It will be the first in the state and one of the first in the nation to be entirely powered by wind and solar energy. There it is. There's a
couple
picture.
Little factoids here. The population of Georgetown is 65,000.
Oh, it's a tiny community.
And it's, what do I have? It's a city-owned utility.
Yes.
Okay, like Burlington.
Yeah.
And what they're saying is green energy can provide the city with much cheaper and more reliable electricity at a longer term and help eliminate the risk of fossil fuels generated electricity's long-term price.
Could I point out something to everybody who's watching this show? Cheaper and more reliable. It is sun and wind, and it's cheaper and more reliable than the alternative in Texas. And what's that? Coal and nuclear and natural gas.
Well, it looks like economics are going to dictate.
Economics are dictating. And you know, I should point out Burlington,
Yeah.
Vermont is one of the cities, and Greenfield, Massachusetts doesn't lay claim to this, but they're darn close to it. They have community.
They've got some kind of a program.
Yep, they have community
opt out
choice.
Not opt into.
It's community choice, which I think is the reason why they don't claim to be 100%. But the woman who's their energy coordinator, whose name, as I recall, is Carol Collins.
I think so. I think I've talked to her.
Yeah, she was approached by the mayor, who said, "What do you think about the idea of having community choice?" And she said, "Fine, as long as we do it by using renewable power." And he said, "Okay." So she immediately went out looking for contracts that the city.
It's interesting because the contract is Con Edison from New York.
Is it?
Yeah.
Really? Well, they contracted for wind.
It's a subdivision of Con
Okay,
Edison.
they contracted for wind power in Massachusetts, wind power in Maine, and solar power from a number of sources, and nearly 100% of the people in Greenfield signed up. Why not? They're getting $1 or so off their electric bills because they're going with renewable power. It's cheaper to go with renewable.
It's actually cheaper in Greenfield.
In Greenfield, yeah.
Which I don't quite understand, but I'm not going to argue with it.
Well, she understands it. If anybody needs to know, she can provide the information.
Well, let's move to a different part of the world
now. The
now.
Emirates 24/7.
Dubai sets a new world record.
Yeah, Dubai set a new record. And by the way, we actually told everybody about this a couple of weeks ago, or maybe a month ago, but at that time it was just a bid. It hadn't been accepted yet.
Okay.
And those bids, you know, they have to vet the people who have done the bidding to make sure that they can actually produce.
Yep.
Well, they do that in advance, so the people who are bidding are already in a list that they've vetted. But in this particular case, you know, they had to look into it a little bit more and find out if the bid was real, which it turned out it was. Dubai Electricity and Water Authority has awarded a consortium led by Abu Dhabi's Masdar to build the 800 megawatt third phase of the Mohammed bin Rashid Al Markoum Solar Park. The contract was awarded to the lowest bid, which was 2.99 cents per kilowatt hour.
Amazing.
Which set a new world record. Okay, you can't get
3 cents.
3 cents a kilowatt hour for solar power. Okay, everybody. You know, renewables is expensive. You can't count on renewables. They're too expensive, and you can't count on them because they're not reliable. But it turns out that when you combine them with solar and biomass and biogas and you name it, yeah, it's right there.
Besides oil, Abu Dhabi has sun.
It has the sun, that's right.
It has a lot of
It's got natural gas, and this particular bid beat natural gas in Abu Dhabi.
That's very interesting.
Yeah, well, you've talked from time to time about prices for renewable power going down to a point where you couldn't match that price with any kind of fossil fuel if the fuel was free.
Yeah.
Yeah, there you go.
It's happening, almost happening now.
Should we come back to the United States?
I think we should.
Okay, our next one is from Clean Technica.
10 grid-scale energy products for Greensmith Energy.
There you
That's
go.
a firm that does this kind of stuff.
Yeah. Greensmith Energy, founded in Herndon, Virginia in 2008. That's not that long ago. That's only 8 years ago. Has delivered 70 megawatts of energy storage over the last 2 years for things like renewables smoothing, frequency regulation, and microgrids. It announced that at the current pace, it will install over 100 megawatts this year.
Well, the company's interesting. I mean, their big product is batteries.
Yeah.
Mounted in trailer truck kind of things,
Yeah.
But what's making it all work is unique to them. They got energy storage management software that apparently is working very well.
Yeah.
And this is what's helping them sell the batteries.
I should write software for energy management.
Yeah.
Yeah. Did you know that I have patents on software?
I didn't know that, but
Yeah.
it's not surprising.
I have 3 patents on software, and they all relate to representing ideas, words, phrases, and things as numbers.
Okay.
So that you can actually do mathematics on them and come up with a predictable result.
Okay.
So for example, you can take the number that means taxi cab, and you can take the number that means rickshaw, and you can combine them together using a mathematical computation called an XOR, and you get a result that you can't decode. But when you take that result and you XOR it with motorboat, you come up with a pedal-powered boat. And those are 2 XORs.
Sounds good.
They in a processor that had big enough. What are they called? Registers to do this. You could do that whole thing in about 2 clock cycles. So you could do that analogy, saying that as a taxi cab is to a rickshaw, so is a motorboat to a pedal-powered boat. I'm sorry, to a pedicab was what I meant.
So it's making analogies.
It's making analogies. Yeah. It can make analogies, but it can also look at a sentence and it can say, here's the context of the sentence. How does this particular word fit into that context? And like that, figure it out, which means that I think it'll probably translate more accurately and much faster than a human being could. You could talk into a phone. The phone could translate what you're saying using an onboard chip into an intermediate language, which would go to another phone where it would be decomposed in the language of the person on that phone, which means that you could have a conversation with somebody and
real-time conversation.
Real-time and not even know what language he's speaking.
Yeah.
This is the Star Trek translator.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Oh boy.
Who wants it?
What are you doing working here?
Nobody. When Star Trek comes around, it'll be obsolete. Okay.
Oh boy.
Our next item. What is our next item?
We're
June
moving
28th.
toward the end of the week, huh?
We're moving toward the end of the week. We have a picture of a Scottish wind farm, and this actually is a Scottish wind farm. A lot of the stuff that you have coming up with articles, they'll say wind farm in Thailand, and the wind farm, where is it? It's in Nebraska, but this is a Scottish wind farm, and the article is in Clean Technica.
Well, the headline is that Scotland's 2014 emissions are lower than its 2020 goal.
Yep. Scotland's carbon emissions level of 2014 were about 46% lower than its emissions in 1990, meaning that the country has managed to achieve its 2020 target, which was 42% lower emissions, and even beat it a full 6 years early. Recent data show year-on-year decrease of 12.5%. That is a decrease of 12.5% in their carbon emissions in 1 year.
But they're going to go further than that.
They're
going to revise the emissions lower.
Yeah. Well,
this is the takeaway. The country was likely now to set a tougher 2020 target in response to the early achievement of the current 2020 goal.
Yeah. Yep.
Make hay while the sun shines.
I guess. The sun shines about this time of year in Scotland, parts of Scotland.
It's every Thursday at 3 o'clock for half an hour.
No. This time of year you get a lot of sunshine because the sun goes down in some parts of Scotland at
late.
11 o'clock at night, and it comes up at 1 o'clock in the morning.
You can read a newspaper at midnight.
Yeah, I believe it.
Outdoors, you can.
Yeah, I believe it. Okay, should we go on? We don't have a lot of time. This is from BOE Report.
Well, let's get us up here.
There you go.
U.S., Mexico, and Canada pledged 50% clean power by 2025.
This week, the U.S. and Mexico will commit to joining Canada in boosting their use of wind, solar, and other carbon-free sources of electricity. They're not saying nuclear right here, you know. Helping the North American group meet an ambitious goal of generating at least 50% of its electricity from clean sources by 2025. I got news for you, gang. This particular thing is kind of I think it's smoke and mirrors, because what it's committing the United States to is 50% clean energy by 2025. We're already getting over 40%.
Yeah, so we're well on our way.
And I really think that this is
this is more publicity
reality, stunt. Yeah? The Mexicans are getting in on the act. Yeah, it's very nice to be able to say this, but the Canadians have already done it.
Yep.
So the Canadians are saying, yeah, well, we'll do 50% by 2025. We're doing 60% now, because you can include nuclear.
Yeah.
But of course, one thing we should recognize is that between now and 2025, our output of nuclear energy is going to decline.
Go down.
Yeah, because we've got one new plant coming on this year, 4 new plants under construction, but who knows when they're going to come online. And we've got 9 plants scheduled to shut down. I should say 9 reactors. It's not 9 plants.
Okay.
Yeah.
And they're looking real hard at Indian Point.
They're looking real hard, and that's not one of the 9.
No.
You know?
No. That's still, I guess it's got 3 or 4 more years on its license or something like that.
Yeah. Exelon is talking about shutting the majority of its, a small majority. They have 17 plants. They're talking about shutting down 9 of them. I'm sorry. I got that wrong. A lot of them. Let's back up about 30 seconds. I didn't say that. Exelon is shutting down a lot of their plants. Should we go on to the VW thing? This is
I think we can. We've talked about VW, but we're going to talk about it again.
Revisiting VW. This is from the BBC again.
VW U.S. emission settlement reported to cost $15 billion. All
right.
And
yeah,
you can read about
VW has reportedly reached a $15 billion settlement, not the $10 billion we mentioned earlier, with U.S. car owners after admitting it cheated emissions tests. The deal would offer to repair or buy back the affected. Now, you see these people who have got these cars they can't sell. Now they've got a buyer. VW will buy them. The affected vehicles and pay owners compensation. The U.S. settlement is still pending approval by the judge. Now, I want to point out here, I looked it up, it wasn't in the article. $15 billion is about 23% of VW's market capitalization. So
that's what the stock is worth.
That's what the stock is worth. That's about 23%
of what they're... significant expenditure for VW.
Yeah, the market capitalization figure probably took into account the idea that there was going to be a settlement on this scale before they did this. But you know what? The United States is not the only country that's going to be after these guys, because that scandal involved about 10 million cars, and only 1 million of them were in the United States, as I recall.
Well, there's more to this too, because they're going to be fined for clean air violations.
In addition.
Yeah.
By the way, don't figure on VW getting a lot of money out of its sale of diesel cars any time in the near future. Didn't we report?
But they are talking about 30 new electric cars.
Yeah, I think we reported that last week.
So they know they got to do something.
Yep.
And that sounds like a good idea.
Yep. Now we're up to Wednesday, June 29th, and we have an item from Renewables. That was yesterday.
Block Island blades arrive.
Yeah, there you go. The first batch of GE 6 megawatt Holyade
picture up there.
150 turbine blades for use in the 30 megawatt Block Island offshore wind farm in the U.S. arrived at Provport facility in Providence, Rhode Island. The project will feature 5 of the GE turbines and will be the first offshore wind farm in the United States. It's also going to drive down electric costs in Block Island by a very significant amount of money.
Well, they're not even connected by cable, are they?
I think they are getting connected by cable as a result of this wind farm going in. The wind farm is going to supply Block Island, and the excess from the wind farm is going to go to the mainland.
Okay.
And my recollection is that I read about a year ago that the people at Block Island were paying 54 cents a kilowatt hour for electricity. because
as opposed to 3 cents.
yeah, right, in Abu Dhabi. But I mean, you would expect in that part of the world that it might have been 12 cents or 15 cents or, you know,
Yeah, that's around what it's going.
I'm paying 19 cents because I'm buying cow
You're
power.
on the high end.
I'm on the highest end and I'm buying the most expensive power, the best power. My power absolutely is the cleanest.
Your power is better than my power.
My power is the cleanest power you can get in New England. It comes from Vermont country cow poop.
From contented cows.
From contented cows.
Well,
Okay.
we're talking about Vermont. Let's go back to it.
Yes, let's do that. This next item is from WBUR.
That's a television station, huh? Radio,
Probably in Burlington.
Sounds like it.
Yeah,
BUR?
sure. BUR.
Yeah.
It sounds like it could be either that or it's an airport or something.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Well, Vermont Utility bets home batteries are the way. And we've talked about this before.
Many times. Vermont's largest utility, Green Mountain Power, is also the first utility in the country to sell Tesla home batteries to its customers, betting that this could be the way of the future. It is doing this both for homeowner private use and for the utility to draw on as a source of electricity. We've talked about this many times.
Yeah, we have. I'll just mention one factoid here because you can relate to it. The battery stores about 6.4 kilowatt hours of energy.
Yep.
That doesn't mean anything to most people.
Yes.
But that could power the bare bones need of an average home.
Yes.
For 6 hours.
Well,
and that's the important stuff, like your refrigerator.
Right. The for 6 hours. Yeah. Well, it's important if you've got an outage. You want to have a radio or a television
Something
going.
Like that.
I've got Aqueon batteries instead of Tesla, and I'm putting them up. The two batteries between them are 5.2 kilowatt hours. They have the advantage that you can run them down 100% without.
That's
significant.
A good feature. Yeah.
And I think the Tesla batteries you can take down 80%. So my batteries are about the same in terms of storage as the Tesla batteries. In some ways, they're not as good, but. The purpose was to be able to keep the bare bones system, a refrigerator, the sump pump, and the furnace going in a prolonged power outage. Right. So
and Green Mountain's got a little hidden agenda here.
Yeah, they can sell power to you for cheap at a time when the power is cheap at night when nobody wants it, and then they can buy it back at a somewhat reduced rate during the daytime. And they pay like $32.
Well, that's part of the deal. They'll buy the power from you.
Yeah, but they pay for the privilege of being able to do this.
Yeah.
So what they're doing is they're charging your battery when power is cheap and then drawing from your battery.
So it's going to be sort of their battery too.
It's their battery too. But, you know.
Well, from the article it said when 500 batteries, I don't know where they got that number, but when 500
that was the number that Green Mountain Power bought.
Are installed in basements scattered across Vermont, they will act sort of like a virtual power plant.
Yeah.
Made up of lots of tiny energy generators all connected to the grid.
That's right.
So it's heads I win, tails you win.
Yeah, that's right. Heads I win and so do you. Tails, same thing. There you go.
They're pretty progressive power company.
Yeah, they're very, very progressive. And our last regular item of this week comes from Platts.
Coal generation and power demand slips in April.
Yep, U.S. coal generation fell slightly in April to 72.2 gigawatt hours, down one-tenth of a gigawatt hour from March. But that's down 18.5% from the same month a year ago. Overall, coal accounted for 24.6% of April generation. This is down from well over 50% 8 years ago.
I'm looking at the wrong picture here.
You're looking at the wrong picture. That's not the picture coming up. So
no, we'll talk about that one.
We will talk about that. Yeah. At any rate, overall coal accounted for 24.6% in April. Now get this. Coal was 24.6%. Natural gas was 31.1%. 21.3% was from nuclear, and 19.8% from renewable sources.
So they're catching up.
They're catching up. The reason why nuclear is 21.3%, by the way, because 2 years ago it was 19.6%, which is less than renewables are doing now.
Okay.
But the reason why nuclear has gone up to 21.3% is because we've lost 5% of our demand.
Okay. Why is that?
Efficiency. And putting renewable power on the grid in a way, not on the grid, but into people's homes and businesses in a way where they're powering themselves. So,
well, efficiency is still the best way to conserve energy.
It is the cheapest way to do it. Sometimes it costs nothing to do efficiency. And
just close your windows.
Yeah, close the window. Turn the light off. That does not cost you anything. The next thing that we've got here is not one of our regular news items. It actually came from a news item that appeared in the Commons about 2 weeks ago. And Tom wanted to talk about this, so I got a picture. And this is the Ball Mountain Dam, which is in
That's in Jamaica.
In Jamaica. In Jamaica, Vermont, gang. This is not Jamaica in the Caribbean. But there's also a dam called the Townsend Dam in Townsend, and they are both part of the system of two dams that just
you can see the Townsend Dam from the highway.
You can. You
and
drive right by.
It's a popular recreation area.
Yeah, people use it as a place to go. Do they go boating in there? They go fishing.
You can rowboat.
You can rowboat.
It's not a motorboat place.
Oh no, not a motorboat place. Canoes,
yeah,
things like that. And I think they go fishing. They certainly have a little beach in there where you can.
A nice little beach.
Yeah.
Picnic area.
Picnic area, nice little place. And the reason this came up was because these dams don't produce very much power, but they were there. They were already there, and it was just a matter of putting in the turbines to.
Well, they're there to control floods down in Springfield and Hartford.
Yeah.
Along with a whole bunch of other dams up and down the river on both sides.
And if you go down to Springfield and you poke around just a little bit, you'll find that there are dikes everywhere along the roads, and Route 91 drives by dikes, and all they need to do is put a bunch of sandbags in an overpass and close off, have a very effective dike that is miles long.
Well, they were getting some pretty bad floods virtually every year in the spring.
Right.
And you can go to downtown Hartford now where the insurance companies are.
Yeah.
And you'll see watermarks. I'll put myself up.
Yeah, that's a good idea. Put yourself up.
You'll see watermarks way up on a building.
You're not up.
Oh. Thank you for telling me.
Tom is the engineer here. Tom is the engineer. But he does it while he's on television. But they have watermarks way up on the building.
Way up on the building.
Okay.
Well, let's get back to the story here.
Yes. And the point of the story is that it took a lot of legal work to get turbines into it probably cost more money to do the legal work than it cost to put the turbines in.
Well, the times have changed, because about 20 odd years ago, I was part of a group in the area of Jamaica, Wardsboro, Townsend, called the West River Basin Energy Committee.
Okay.
And we actually got a certificate of public good.
Yeah.
We got the verbal approval of the Corps of Engineers, but they wanted to see all the plans.
Yeah.
But we didn't have a power purchase agreement because we were going to use it all ourselves.
Okay.
And it probably would have flown if it was a for-profit operation and somebody was making some money on it.
Yeah.
But we decided that it should be owned by all of the towns, 7 towns.
Yeah.
And we had a plebiscite. We had a vote.
And it went down. It went down.
And I remember the arguments against it. The first one was, well, we don't think you guys can do it.
That's a good one.
Well,
we're not going to let you do it because you can't do it.
We weren't going to do it. We were going to contract someone to operate it. But, they said, well, what are you guys? You're just like us. You're not going to.
Yeah. I don't know anything about it.
And the other thing that came up that's really, in today's day and age, almost unbelievable. So many people thought it was communism.
Right.
The towns were going to own the dams. That's communism. And I can picture some of the meetings that we had with people coming up, one after another, saying basically the same thing. It was fear-mongering. And it's interesting because Public Service Electric, or Central Vermont Public Service, which was the utility,
is communist.
Well, no, they're capitalists. But
they're capitalists.
They attended all of our meetings, interesting.
Did they?
Oh, yeah.
Did they have any
comments? They never said anything. They just
not in the meeting.
Not at the meeting.
Yes. Okay. But we are out of time, Tom, so we've got to go.
Yeah, I guess we're
I
going to
think
have to get the
we should put the other
compressor.
picture up and say goodbye to everybody.
Goodbye,
Bye,
everybody.
See you later. Have a good week.
I wonder how gentle rains can fall upon the land. So lovely earth can stay lovely still.